I had the coolest job that any electrical engineer could ever have on the ground crew for Solar Impulse 2, the first solar-powered airplane to fly around the world only using the power of the sun. IEEE USA has given me a competitive edge because of their support system. It is so much easier doing something and being out of your comfort zone when you have someone there saying, "You got this." IEEE USA is more than just a network, it's a family.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to today's IEEE USA Livestream webinar, Social Media Power Hour, Amp Up Your Social Skills in 60 Minutes. I'm your host, Jonathan Cho, as well as one of your presenters for today's webinar. IEEE USA's goal is to create programming that is valuable, relevant, and of interest to you. We'll be sending a short survey to all registrants after this event and would love your feedback. We value your opinions and would appreciate it if you could take a few minutes and share your thoughts. Most of you who have tuned into our previous live stream webinars will have probably seen me before, but for those who are tuning in for the first time, I currently work as IEEE USA as its social media associate, with my primary role being in social media development and strategy, as well as multimedia production. I've held multiple strategic roles across various organizations in the public affairs industry with clients across corporate and nonprofit sectors. Joining me today is my colleague and IEEE USA's very own media relations associate, Corey Ruth. Corey Ruth has 10 years of experience in the public relations industry and has served multiple clients in the consumer tech, B2B, travel, and retail industries. His responsibilities range from media outreach, partnership management, written and multimedia content creation, and much more. Welcome and thanks for joining us today, Corey.
Thanks so much, Jonathan. It's a pleasure to be here.
Before we get started, let me give you all a little quote from Amy Jo Martin, founder and CEO of Renegade Global and author of the New York Times best-selling book, Renegades Write the Rules. Social media is the ultimate equalizer. It gives a voice and a platform to anyone willing to engage. It also lends infinite opportunities and challenges. Social media is becoming bigger and bigger, evolving at a very fast pace with new platforms, new features, making it simpler for anyone who wants to dip their toes into social media or digital marketing in some aspect. Not only is social media becoming easier to use, it's available to everyone and can generate quick feedback as well. Social media has been not only used to raise issues and concerns, but also enhance the efficiency of these processes. So what we'll cover today, elements of a good post, better visual content, how to drive engagement, general tips and platform-specific tips. Whether you're a complete novice or have been using social media for years, you'll leave this webinar with the actionable tips to help you gain more traction on your own social media endeavors. So before you start throwing a bunch of money into an advertising campaign or start using it as some sort of sales platform to grow your business, you're going to want to find a way to build your social media presence. But where do you begin? Taking that first step into social media can be pretty overwhelming, especially when there's so many sites and platforms, users, content out there waiting to be explored. It's a lot to process. It's best to begin with your primary objectives in mind so you can benchmark and measure your progress. And answering some of these basic questions will help guide the direction of your social media efforts. First, what do you want to accomplish? Are you trying to build your personal brand, your network, or are you promoting a product or service? Who are you trying to reach? Your family and friends, industry colleagues, or maybe potential clients and customers? Which platforms do you want to be on and why? Depending on what kind of content you want to share and who you want to reach, you might want to start small and be selective with which platforms to use that fits best your brand. Finally, what's your content plan? Social media should be treated as any other marketing initiative you undertake, starting first and foremost with strategy. One of the most biggest pitfalls on social media marketing is lacking direction and focus.
All right, so once you've chosen the platform or platforms that you want to get started with, you're going to be ready to make your first post, or maybe you've already got these platforms going and you're wanting to look at how to make those posts more effective. So we're going to dive into that next. First off, brevity is one of the most important things and often overlooked when you're doing posts on social media. Put yourself in the reader's shoes as someone who is looking at this content as it's going through on their social media feed. You want to get to the point quickly. People who are on social media aren't going to be wanting to spend minutes or hours reading through long paragraphs, that type of thing. They're not looking for a story or a long post like that. They're wanting very quickly to find out what you're trying to say. Also, the WIFM, or what's in it for me, very important thing to remember. People are looking for value. They're looking for content that's going to be important, relevant to them in that moment. Uh, Mentioned kind of already, avoiding the walls of text. People see that, they are liable to just go scrolling right on by, and you'll miss the opportunity to engage with them at all. I've got another quote here, this one from co-founder of Reddit, Alex Ohanian. He says, being effective at social media means capturing people who have short attention spans. You're only a click away from a picture of a funny cat, so you have to make your thing more compelling than that cat. And that can be a high bar. Absolutely. There is content overload out there, and there are a lot of very interesting, entertaining things. And having something that's going to break through the noise and really capture their attention can be difficult, but is absolutely doable. All right, so going on to messaging, really important to think kind of ahead of time what you want to say and why you're trying to say it. So, really, like, what are you trying to accomplish with a given post? If you're trying to encourage someone to buy tickets to an event or to buy a product, you're going to want the call to action in there somewhere, but trying to have it not seem too salesy. Really going back to that, what's in it for them, selling them on the benefits of it without being too pushy. So, what's the best way to say it? Certainly, you could have a text post if that's what you want to do with it, but maybe there's a better way to say it. You could say have an image that incorporates that message or a short video. Also, certainly things to be considered. Telling a story, answering the so what. Why should the reader care about what you have to say? Again, putting yourself in the reader's shoes and think about what you would want to know about it and why that's important to you, because good chance that's going to be important to the other readers as well. Avoid the urge to say too much in one post. If you have too many different points in there, even if all of those are great points and really compelling, it can be a bit of an overload for the reader. So ideally, you want to stick to one point or two related points and save the other things that you want to say for subsequent posts. You definitely don't want your message to get lost. And don't forget the big picture. It's easy to have just one post that gets sent out very quickly, but where does that one post fit into the big picture? Always bringing things back to your key messages, whether you're a company or an individual or a solo practitioner. Thinking about what each post is bringing to your overall strategy is very, very important as well. All right, so we couldn't have a post or a webinar about social media without having a meme in here. So we've got this one about messaging with your beginning, middle, and end. We've got the top post here saying this imaginary event, IEEE USA Con is coming up June 5th, register now. Okay, you tell people some information, you've got the title, when it is that you want them to register, but it's missing the so what. It's missing the what's in it for them. So we've got a second option here. Don't miss out. That's your hook, grabbing their attention. You're like, oh, well, I don't want to miss out on things. What's going on? Your second sentence there, grow your career, the biggest IEEE networking event of the year. So immediately showing them the benefit, telling them why they should be interested in it, growing their career, networking with industry colleagues. All right, I'm in. So register today for IEEE USA Con, and that's where you would put your URL to have people sign up. So you've got the call to action right there, closing the loop on your story. We move now into visuals, which are very important for regardless of the platform you've got. Really important to consider the three A's: attention, algorithm, and atmosphere. Drawing their attention, good visuals are going to help your post stand out and draw them in and make folks want to learn more. Images also on their own can help the algorithms of the various social media platforms show that to more people. It's going to be more likely to show up in their feed as well, so they don't have to go looking for it. It's just as they're scrolling through, that's going to pop up, and it helps drive more engagement, which itself is also going to boost in the algorithm. So, very important factor there. And atmosphere. We talked about getting to the point very quickly with brevity. Visual content, whether that's a video or a photo, is going to help folks understand your message at a glance so they don't have to go reading through a whole lot of text. So now that we've kind of introduced the concept of visual content, let's look about how to make your visual content better. It's important to preface this that you don't need a fancy or expensive camera. Smartphone cameras have gotten a lot better in recent years, so you can absolutely use what you've got in your pocket already. One of the best things to consider is that the best camera you have is the one that you have in your hands. So don't worry too much, especially when you're getting started, about spending too much on equipment. So one of the most important things is lighting. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. Of course, natural lighting is best, but you can have artificial light, whether that's a ring light or just a lamp. Different things like that can really help make your face, your subject, be illuminated very well. If it's too bright, it can appear washed out. If it's too dark, you can kind of be lost in the noise and you lose a lot of detail there. So you really want to have enough lighting to make some good contrast. Focus, you certainly want to make sure your main subject isn't blurry. Autofocus does a generally pretty good job of this, but you can sometimes help it along. A lot of software has the ability to have face following with facial recognition. So even if you move about the frame, it can follow you and keep the focus on there, but make sure you've got that enabled if you have that ability. But there can also be the ability to set subtle background blur to emphasize your subject and make the subject pop out a bit more and draw more attention. So you can have fun with that, play with that a little bit. Framing, the rule of thirds is generally you want your subject to be in the middle of the shot, not too far to the left or too far to the right, and not too close to the top or bottom either. That helps to fill the frame, draws the attention directly to your eyes. But you can violate this rule sometimes. If you have your subject to one side and looking to the other direction, that helps guide the viewer's eyes. So they're wanting to see, or maybe they're curious then what the subject is looking at. So that can help if you have a product maybe focused over there, or a logo or something like that, text talking about an event. That can be certainly a way to do it. Subject and composition. It's important to look at what you're shooting and why. What do you have in the frame? Maybe do you have something interesting in the background, or do you have a just generic background to really have the subject be the sole focus? There are lots of different ways that you can play with that and have a different effect on the visuals. Perspective. Um, this is in terms of where you're looking at the photo from. So it's going to affect how your subject is perceived. Thinking about different angles, shooting it from below, from above, to the side. Are you having the subject looking head on into the camera? Are they looking off to the side? A lot of different things that you can do with that that can totally change the shot. So um, take a look at that and maybe even try a few different ones. Try it from a few angles and see which ones that you like best. Don't feel like you have to go with the first one that you shoot. Story-wise, what's happening in the shot? Is there action going on? Is there the perception of movement? If you have someone to the side looking at the other direction, like we said, what's happening over there, feel free to experiment with that and make the shot. The photo isn't a passive object, it's what you make of it. So you're the artist and the photo is the canvas. Definitely keep that in mind. All right, so we're going to look at a couple of different examples here of uh, basically the same subject shot with slightly different things happening. The one on the left here, you see this is Vadu Island in the Maldives. It's a somewhat interesting shot on the left here. You've got what looks like bioluminescent life going on along the surf. It looks like a sunrise or sunset, but it's not that thrilling or exciting. And then you look to the right, and now the sun has set. The light is different. The bioluminescence really pops. And as you follow the line, as it goes further along into the background, the eyes are then brought up into the stars, and the mirroring of the stars and the bioluminescence, which almost looks like stars, really has a powerful effect. Next, we've got a shot here of some lavender fields in France. The one on the left, the focus seems to be more on the sky, but there's not really a lot happening there. Especially with the sun on the left, it sort of washes out the lavender, and you don't really see it, or it doesn't pop very well. But on the right, they've changed the focus, brought it down a little bit. So now all of these beautiful purple, violet lavender fields are just screaming with color and look beautiful with a very subtle change in how it's presented. Next, we've got Iguazu Falls. This is on the Argentina-Brazil border and is an iconic landmark of the area. But on the left, the falls are really just kind of in the background. You're not really paying attention to them much at all. You've got these stairs on the left here, a couple of people maybe taking a look. You've got trees on the left and the right, but the falls, which really are the all-stars here, are lost a bit in the noise. This one on the right, however, the photographer has moved. They've framed it differently. You've got the falls really taking center stage, and you can see just how beautiful they are. So small difference makes a big difference. And this one really stands out for me. It's Sequoia National Forest in California. On the left, it looks like a bunch of trees. I mean, nice looking trees, but who cares, right? It doesn't really look that impressive or different until you see this one on the right with the person sitting at the base of the tree, and now you get the sense of scale, the perspective, and you realize, wow, like these are trees the size of houses, and then the vertical scale all of a sudden makes sense, and that again, a little change makes a big change.
So many photo best practices can definitely apply to videos as well. To emphasize what Corey mentioned earlier, you don't need a fancy, expensive camera to create better visual content. Your phone is perfectly fine to start out, and cameras on recent models of smartphones can capture incredibly high quality photos as well as any other camera. Just think about what you want to accomplish and who you want to reach. You want to typically keep your videos short and simple. A number of platforms have a limit on the length of videos that can be posted, and extensive studies have shown that the longer the video, the less engagement they get. 15 seconds is generally the sweet spot and something you definitely shouldn't underestimate. Of course, platforms like YouTube, which focus primarily on video content, can of course have longer videos. You should definitely make the first few seconds count. Videos autoplay by default on most platforms, so start off with a hook, an interesting question, inspiring quote, powerful visuals. The first few seconds are crucial because that's when they'll definitely decide whether to continue watching the video or scroll down to the next post. Keep your text legible and add subtitles when available. Subtitles are important for accessibility, but also because many people watch videos without sound on the go. Text size is incredibly important because many people will be watching your clip from a small screen to make sure not to squeeze too much text into a single frame, or you'll just have blocks of text and no visuals. There will be times where your content may not be able to have text. There are platforms that will also auto add subtitles as well. Um, those, depending on the platforms, they'll do it automatically when content is posted, or you have to manually add them later on. Your content needs to be visually appealing. Bold colors stand out. Make sure your video is smooth and not shaky. While smartphones have stabilization settings built into the video feature, adding a tripod will make the quality much better. You can get a nice simple one online or for less than $10. Good lighting is also incredibly important. If your video is dark, grainy, or has an irregular shift in lighting, it'll look raw and rough. Natural lighting is best, but ring lights work too, and you can get a simple one for $5 to $10 online as well. If you're shooting from a smartphone, it's always better to shoot in well lit environments if possible. Consider the background. A simple background can definitely help keep the focus on you or what you're recording. Good sound. When you're interviewing someone or shooting a video in a place with a lot of background noise, we recommend using an external mic. You can get a quality mic for as little as $20. I realize in our tips that we've mentioned a number of extra components that might cost money. Consider these good investments into creating quality content that you can use for many other multimedia projects in the future as well. It definitely adds to the production value and just increases overall quality. Add music if appropriate. Music can add atmosphere and invoke emotion. And if you do use music, make sure you're allowed to, though. While there are plenty of royalty-free tracks you can use, with credit of course, you need to make sure that you have permission from the rightful owners. Otherwise, you can get into trouble with the platforms for stealing copyrighted materials. Tell a story. Grabbing the audience's attention is crucial, but keeping them glued is even more important. Your video must not only look, sound, and feel great, but it should also share a compelling story that has wit, relevance, and value. Create a story that resonates with your followers, so it's important to create a personal connection with them and deliver a message that touches on their emotion. Adding humor or emotion adding humor or emotion can definitely show your personality and make your message stronger and more memorable, but only use it when appropriate. Motion. When something's happening in a video is more interesting than or excuse me. So something happening in a video is much more interesting than a talking head. You want, you know, gesture is important. Movement is definitely something that can get people to stick around for much longer. Optimize your content for the platform. It may sound convenient to post the same videos across multiple channels, but it's necessary to optimize your content for each platform as they have different requirements. Size and shape matter when it comes to social media visuals. Proper size, aspect ratio, and duration also matter, but don't be afraid to experiment with vertical versus horizontal specs. And finally, edit your content when you can. Cut any parts you want to edit out. Add subtitles, highlights. You don't need to be a professional or use fancy software. Many smartphone apps do a decent job, and many of them are free as well. Examples are Adobe Premiere Rush, Adobe Spark Video, just to name a few. But there are plenty of other third-party platforms that you can find in the App Store, again, for free. Now we move on to a very important metric to consider when building your brand: driving engagement. You can have amazing content, but if you don't have people to engage with your content, then there's little point. Because of the way social media algorithms work, posts with more engagement are seen by more people. Which brings us to another great quote by Amy Jo Martin. It's a dialogue, not a monologue, and some people don't understand that. Social media is more like a telephone than a television. Social media should not be a one-way street. To be successful and build a following that matters, you have to be social. And for modern brands with an online presence, strong social media engagement is a sign that you're making an impact in the market. It's not about looking popular, it's about making meaningful connections with current and future customers. Conversations, again, it's social media. Comment on content posted by others and respond to comments on your content. Respond as quickly as possible and create a dialogue. Remember your audience. Find out what drives them. What are they passionate about? Be timely and topical. Trending topics can make your content more likely to be seen. For example, if you're going to post something regarding a specific holiday, like say Thanksgiving or Christmas, or maybe about a current event going on in the world, you don't want to start talking about it 2 weeks after it's already happened. There would be very little point. So don't wait too long or the moment will pass. Create valuable content that's helpful to your audience and that addresses their need and pain points. For example, if you sell LED lights, don't just post your products. A picture of your light bulbs aren't interesting. Try offering project ideas and artistic designs. Give insight to your audience on interesting ways they can use your products, and then show them through some sort of visual appealing way. Ask questions. People like to share their opinions. By asking, you signal you want to know what they think and make them likely want to comment as well. Think about when you're posting. People are more likely to see and engage with your posts at certain times of the day, in the morning during the commute to work, the afternoon during lunch breaks, or at night when they before they go to sleep. Weekends are a huge time to take advantage of people being on social media a lot more often. Experiment to find what works for you. Use analytics. It's important to measure and analyze the results of your content during and after a campaign period. Keep track of important metrics so you know how many people are viewing, engaging with, and sharing your content. Find out what's working and what isn't. Trial and error is a huge part of successful content marketing. Some important key metrics are, of course, say, for example, videos, views, the number of people viewing, how many people have viewed your video, um, and so on. Hashtags. Link your content to given topics about social media platforms. If people follow or consume that topic regularly, it increases the likelihood that they'll see yours. It's simple as just putting a hashtag before a word or a topic.
All right, so now we're going to look at some general tips that will tend to apply across multiple or even all platforms. One of the most important things is to be consistent with your social media efforts. If you're posting on a pretty regular basis, that lets your followers know that they can expect that content from you regularly. On the flip side, if you're posting a lot for a little while and then kind of disappear for weeks or months, those people are going to think you've abandoned them and are likely to unfriend or unfollow or unsubscribe, and that you'll have lost their attention. Uh, Having long silent gaps also affects the social media algorithms, and they will see that you are or think that you are no longer relevant and will down rank your content so fewer people will see it. That inconsistency can kill your momentum, so try to keep that consistency up. But also don't go too far the other way. If you're posting things too much, too often, that can be a bit spammy, and people can get frustrated that they're seeing too much from you. Be authentic. People are more likely to engage with you the more they know you, so let that personality shine through. If you're being fake, if you're trying to be someone you're not, people are going to know, or they'll at least have a hunch, and they won't believe the content that you're putting out. They won't believe the words that you're saying. Know your audience. We've touched on this a bit before, but understand what your audience likes and doesn't like. This can be both learned from engaging with your audience directly, talking with them, understanding through those conversations, but also looking at your analytics to see which topics or types of posts tend to be more popular. Nearly every platform, whether you're using Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, anything like that, will have an analytics menu usually that you can access and see at a glance, usually in slightly different format, but see at a glance what is tending to work better for you or not. Thinking before you post, this can be both thinking about what you want to write before you write it or what you want to share, if it's a photo or video, so that your post is focused and coherent, but also thinking about how it might be perceived by others. If you're a reader, whether one of your followers or subscribers, or maybe someone discovering your channel or your account for the first time, what is that post going to make them think? What is it going to make them feel? It's important to consider those things and be able to optimize that content, tweak it a little bit to make it the type of thing that's going to make them feel good and want to see more from you. Don't let yourself get drawn into the weeds by trolls or insults. We all know that there are a lot of folks with less than proper behavior on the internet. There are going to be folks with negative comments just trying to draw you out, but try not to engage with that because it typically doesn't end well. So don't be afraid to take risks. You want to be able to try something new, try some new content, put yourself out there. If you're nervous on camera, you can maybe approach it little steps at a time. If you're maybe not comfortable talking directly to the camera, try doing a how-to where you're showing like how to build something, like a little LED flashlight, and then afterwards add a voice recording where you're talking just to a microphone and don't have the pressure of the camera, and then add the two together with an editor, and that can help take some of the pressure off, and then work your way up to maybe some more advanced stuff later. Engage with others more than you post yourself. So this is building on natural conversations, helps you be seen by others and helps others see you. You'll learn from them as well as to kind of content that works, the type of things that people want to see. Keeps your finger on the pulse of what's trending. There are a lot of benefits to that. So um, definitely having it be a social conversation, a two-way street, is very helpful. I mentioned there about trends. Trending topics tend to get shown to more people. I'm sure if anyone of you were on social media in the last few days, you saw things about the Oscars were suddenly everywhere because that was a trending subject. Um, so if you've got something relevant to share, something interesting to say about that, um, feel free to chime in. I mean, feel comfortable um, building on that when it's timely. Definitely use some caution if the topic is controversial or involves loss or tragedy, though, because you don't want to be seen as opportunistic or insensitive. Telling a story. This really helps show your personality better, and we've mentioned it a few times, but it bears reinforcing here that that's an important thing. And cross promotion, if it's applicable. If you have, for example, a YouTube channel and you're on Twitter and you've just posted a new video on your YouTube, consider telling your Twitter followers about that. It's a good chance there's going to be some overlap. Some people that are following you on both, but maybe not everyone is, or maybe folks didn't see it on YouTube. The more times you can get that in front of people, the more likely they are to engage with it. And don't be afraid to change your strategy if it isn't working. I always say the definition of insanity is trying the same thing again and again and expecting different results. So if you're putting out content and it's not really seeming to get traction, if it's not, getting a lot of likes or comments, maybe try something different. This can go back to your conversations and consuming and engaging with others. If you see something that someone else is doing that's really popular, that can help spark some ideas for you as well. So this is another quote. This one comes from Stephanie Salmons. on Twitter. She says, random social media tactics lead to random results. You need a strategy. Absolutely, 100%. Having something guiding what you're doing prevents you from just, lurching from one thing to the next and keeps you working towards a single goal.
Excuse me, sorry, I was muted. So before we go on to platform-specific tips, I would like to thank our audience for tuning in again. We'll get to we see your comments and questions, and we will get to it at the end of the presentation. We will save our Q&A for then, so sit tight. The same way you prepare for other aspects of your marketing plan, you need to have specific and intentional plans for each platform you use. Each platform has different uses and best practices for generating engagement. And while your brand may not need to have a presence on every platform, for a post to be targeted, you need to have a strategy that is specific to the platform you're using. We mentioned before that you should have your primary goals for your social media plan. Why am I using this platform? Who will I reach? What type of posts work best, and how are my posts unique to this platform? So I'll get on to one of the bigger platforms, Twitter. Using Twitter is one of the easiest ways to engage with people in your industry, regardless of whether or not they follow you. It allows you to join in on trending conversations, get your message in front of people who are interested in your niche but aren't yet aware of your brand. Twitter also allows you to establish yourself as a thought leader in your industry by contributing valuable insight into topics that people are already talking about. Hashtags. I mentioned the importance of hashtags and letting you tap into trending topics early in the presentation, but they're especially critical for platforms like Twitter. Focus your hashtags on trends that matter to your audience and that you can add actual value to discussion in. Retweets with comments. Retweeting a post is simple and can be done with the click of a button, but retweeting a post and adding your own comments adds a layer of your own engagement on top. Photos help your posts stand out. It's better to natively share your visual content directly on Twitter than if you were to share a Facebook or YouTube link on your Twitter profile, as Twitter's algorithms promote them higher. Finally, organize with Twitter lists. Lists help you keep from being overwhelmed. You can create and save lists of people and people you follow or people you don't follow that you want to engage with, and find them in one place. For example, if I want to create a list with a bunch of engineering or STEM focused organizations, create a list on Twitter, and then simply add all those organizations that I want to engage with or plan on engaging with in the future into that list. That way I have a simple way of finding those people whenever I need to, or those accounts, excuse me. Facebook. Facebook is still one of the largest social media platforms and is not one you should be ignoring. Facebook's structure allows you to easily create longer discussions and debates. Take advantage of it. More comments mean more algorithm-friendly engagement. Make your followers laugh. This is a pretty, it may sound silly, but it's a pretty important tip. Some of you may have Facebook friends who post memes throughout the day. There's a reason that you see so many of them on your news feeds. Jokes and memes are very popular on Facebook. Add your own relevant captions to trending or topical photos. Your content doesn't always have to be serious. A little humor sprinkled in can do wonders. But do be careful and sensitive when doing so, because you want to avoid controversial topics. Going back to the photo and video content. Visually appealing content can drive more engagement than text posts alone. We rarely recommend making just text posts because people will rarely see them on their news feeds. Consider using tools like Facebook Live, which let you make videos in real time. It's a great way to interact directly with your followers and friends. These live stream webinars IEEE USA hosts are streamed directly to our social channels, and we've seen dramatic improvements in our engagement numbers. So definitely, firsthand experience using these, and would definitely recommend it. Finally, join Facebook groups. Facebook groups let you find like-minded people in all in one place, and are great places to have conversations and learn. Post your relevant content in groups and help it be seen by an interested audience. More than likely, you'll find a Facebook group on any number of topics that you can think of. If you like cats, if you like talking about cats, you can search up cat groups on Facebook, and more than likely you'll find about a million of them. But you know, just an example. Instagram. Since Instagram regularly changes the way posts interact and its algorithms, it can be a little bit difficult to predict if your posts will generate significant content and engagement. Instagram stories are one way to make sure you stay in front of your followers on Instagram. Instagram stories are chronological and last only about 24 hours. So every time you post a story, your followers see your account at the top of their newsfeed and know that you have a new story up. You can use stories to bring attention to what you're posting on your newsfeed to make sure people see it. Stories can be videos, short videos, or just simple pictures. But it's another way for people to see your posts, should they not be able to see your post or come across it in their news feed. Instagram stickers let you quickly add polls, questions, emojis, and more to your story to help improve the quality and further increase engagement. As with Facebook, with the right meme, your followers will be liking, commenting, and sharing with your friends. Carousel posts are becoming very big. They let you share up to 10 posts or videos in a single post, as opposed to when the platform first came out. If you wanted to post multiple pictures or videos, you would have to make individual posts for each video or photo, which no. There were some cons to definitely cramming people's feeds with similar content was not the best way to go about doing things. So carousels have really changed the game. Instagram definitely gives you the opportunity to let your personality shine. It's inherently less formal than many other platforms. Use that to let your followers get to know you. The more they know you, the more likely they are to engage with you. Links in your bios. Unlike many major platforms, Instagram doesn't allow you to post clickable links in your posts, and you can share only a single link in your profile bio. Use that space to link to a post page with your post-specific links. Do you have a website you want to direct people to? Add that link to your bio so people can go directly to your website from your Instagram profile. And in doing so, people have also come across your Instagram profile and taken a look at it. Instagram Reels. Reels are becoming increasingly important to platforms like Instagram, where visual content is key. Videos are huge ways to share original content and hop on trending topics fast. Typically, with Instagram Reels, vertical orientation is the way to go for these reels and should be between 15 to say about 30 seconds for maximum exposure. Like other platforms, hashtags also let you tap into trending topics and be found by those following or engaging with your topic. More popular hashtags may be seen by more people. But forewarning, do not overdo it with the hashtags because that can also drive people away from your content and make your posts less targeted.
All right, moving on to YouTube. Generally, you want to keep your videos under 20 minutes. 15 to 20 minutes is a pretty good sweet spot, but there are exceptions to this. If there's a very good reason to have a longer video, absolutely go for it. And on the shorter side, Reels are now on YouTube as well. And those are the 15 to 30-second shots, so in the vertical orientation. So the 15 to 20-minute range is a kind of a general rule, just to maximize the number of people who will stick with the video to the end or close to the end, without being yeah, bored or thinking it's too long and moving on to something else. Generally speaking, you want to stick to one topic with your channel and with videos especially. Um, it's important to know what subject your viewers care about and focus your videos on that. And then if you are really passionate about something else, make a second channel for that. Uh, basically the reason for this is if someone is subscribed to your channel because they're really interested in your engineering videos, if you're posting something about your barbecue hobby, making beef brisket out of the blue comes up, they're going to be confused and wondering what's going on, and might unsubscribe because they're not interested in that. So a lot of creators that I know of on YouTube will have two or even sometimes three or more channels and have one dedicated to a given subject. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. If you've watched even a single video on YouTube, you've probably seen creators say this to the point where it's become a cliche, but they say it for a reason. More likes increases the likelihood that YouTube will know that your channel is important, or that your video is important. More subscribers amp that up even further. And when they hit the bell icon, that is something that subscribers can do that makes them be able to see as soon as you post a video. They'll get a reminder, a push notification on their phone that says, hey, so and so has made new content, and makes them more likely to be able to go directly to that video right away. Asking viewers to comment is important, but doing so with direction. You might hear a YouTuber say, oh, be sure to comment, be sure to subscribe, that type of thing. But if you say comment on something specific, like, for example, you're making a video about a STEM project for kids, and you say comment below with your favorite STEM project idea. That's something that guides them specifically and makes them more likely to make that comment. Using community posts is kind of a growing trend. I hadn't seen it as much until recently, but it's been growing in popularity. Community posts are something in between your videos, basically. You've got within your single channel new videos that you're posting, but you can use these community posts to send something with text or just a simple image, something like that. You can send polls with those as well. This can increase engagement with your subscribers even when you don't have a new video out. You can also use that to let them know, hey, new video is coming soon, or coming on Thursday or whatever, to help build that momentum and that excitement. And we talked in Facebook about live streaming. It's also a very popular thing in YouTube. Streaming live to your audience changes your video from content to be consumed and makes it into an event. You'll have that scheduled, so people will see it in their stream that you're planning to go live at a certain date and time, and they can receive a reminder as well if they're a subscriber that says, "Hey, you're going live in 5 minutes," or "Hey, you're live right now." And these live streams help you to interact directly with your viewers, and helps them feel like they're part of something bigger. If you're not comfortable streaming directly live, another way to do it is to premiere a live video. So you can pre-record your video, have it all ready to go, but then instead of just pushing it to your channel, you can call it a premiere, which does a similar thing to the live stream. Um, lets people know when it's going to be coming, uh, gives people a reminder that it's going, and now people can view it as an event. And likewise, you can have a chat going and interact and engage directly with your audience. So consider doing that if you're not comfortable on uh, doing a full-on live stream. This gets into a little bit more of the marketing side of it. Um, if you've got a great video, but a title that isn't really descriptive or is like episode 4 and that's it, that's not going to tell people much about it, and they're going to be less likely to click on it. So it's important to have your title be both descriptive and engaging. You can try popular ideas like lists, best ofs, or how to's. Um, you know, 5 simple ways to do something, or 7 best somethings of all time. Have a bit of fun with that, and could give you some ideas for videos as well. This is the big one here that kind of separates uh, the less experienced, perhaps, YouTubers and those who really get good engagement in big numbers is the thumbnail. The thumbnail is when you're on your YouTube app or your YouTube website and see that little photo that is a description of the video. Um, that is your best advertisement for the content of the video there. That's going to be what determines whether people click on it to watch it or scroll on by to see what else is there. You can use a still frame from the video itself, and that is within the YouTube Creator tool. It'll pick the beginning, end frame, and some in the middle. You can just click that, and it's easy. But consider making a separate visually appealing image and upload that in to have that as your thumbnail. You can have it be from the same shoot, so it's still relevant, still descriptive, but add some nice high contrast text in there as well to really make that pop. Don't neglect the description. Um, sorry, one moment. All right, don't neglect your description. Obviously, as the name would imply, this is where you describe your video. But this also helps YouTube's search algorithm understand what your video is about. You can work some keywords into there and save some of those keywords, working it in naturally into your video, which helps to reinforce that and helps that to be seen by more people. Cross promotion. We talked earlier about cross promoting between channels, like telling your Twitter followers that you just launched a new YouTube video, but you can also cross promote within YouTube. If you've got more than one video that touches on a given topic, feel free to mention that and link to that video in the description. For example, you can say you've got a series where you've done STEM challenges. It's like, hi, welcome to another IEEE USA STEM challenge. Last episode, we built LED flashlights. If you missed it, check it out. The link's in the description below. Something like that. And then if people are just discovering this video for the first time, they might be interested in checking out that earlier content. And now you've got another view, people are getting deeper into your channel, and maybe they'll be more likely to subscribe. Further to this is the playlists idea. If you have several videos on a given subject, usually 3, 4, or more, feel free to make it into a playlist. Viewers can then find these playlists listed on your channel. When they view one, it'll start to autoplay the next one, and that really encourages them to see more in the series. And don't be afraid to embed your videos elsewhere. YouTube makes it very easy. The share button just below the video itself, there'll be an embed option in there. You can use that little bit of code that it automatically generates for you, plunk that onto your website, whether that's your personal blog, company webpage, that type of thing, and the video will then appear directly on that page. So that's another place to capture more potential viewers. Obviously, you don't want to just have it appearing there willy-nilly, but if you've got a web page where you're talking about that subject or talking about that video in particular, and then embed it there, that's a great way to do it. And onto LinkedIn. It's important not to neglect your profile because this is where you make your first impression. You can use the headline to show your expertise in a clear, concise, specific area. Highlight your relevant experience, and can't emphasize this enough. Be sure you use an up-to-date professional headshot. A lot of IEEE events, we've sponsored professional headshot sessions there, but you can seek out local photographers in your area. A lot of them will be willing to do this very inexpensively. Or if you've got a handy photographer friend, be willing to be a subject for them. And maybe they can use that in their portfolio and you get a nice headshot out of it. Or if they're willing to take payment for it, you can do it that way too. We've talked before about posting consistently. Um, with LinkedIn, it's especially important because a lot of people see it as just a static virtual resume and forget the fact that it is its own social media platform as well and a marketing tool. Use that to your advantage by posting about cool projects you're working on, professional events that you've recently taken part in, or topics in your area of expertise. The more you can post on there, the more that reinforces the activity that you do in your industry and the expertise that you bring to the table. Think of that as a companion to your resume and a network building tool, as opposed to LinkedIn being a static page. Like in Facebook, groups are a big thing on LinkedIn. There are many, many different groups on a whole range of different topics. Chances are there's going to be something on there that you're interested in. Um, Look for professional groups of in your industry and in your area, that type of thing, and really be able to help grow your networking ability. Sharing value adds. This can be as simple as sharing some tips that you've learned about a given subject, or even more simply, if you've read an article in your industry or about some topic that you find interesting, consider sharing that or a video that you've liked. But instead of just sharing the link or saying, I saw this video, it was cool, consider adding to it. So you can say, I just watched this great TED talk about how to get kids into STEM. The speaker had some great tips, but to add to that, I found that this really worked for the kids that I volunteer with. Of course, that'll depend on your situation, but that type of thing, adding additional value on top of content, emphasizes that you're engaged and relevant in your industry and perhaps even a thought leader. Using good formatting is very important as well. Typically want to avoid those walls of text as we described earlier. If you're doing paragraphs, limit them to 1 to 2 sentences per paragraph, or use some bullet points if relevant. Making your posts stand out, you can do this with images, again, that we've talked about, sharing a video, but you can even do something as simple as just adding a couple of emojis to your text post if it's relevant to do so. Obviously, don't go overboard with that, but that can sometimes help things to stand out. And we will close with a final quote here. This is from Dave Saunders, Chief Idea Officer with Madison in Maine. Dave says, "You can't tiptoe into social media. You have to jump into the pool. People have a natural fear of it, but the scary part is not being there." And really, the basis of that is if you're not on social media, at best, your story isn't being told. At worst, you're letting someone else tell that story for you, and you've given up control. So, just a thought to consider.
So I know we threw a lot of info at you all, and it might have been pretty overwhelming for those just starting out on social media. We definitely love to hear your feedback or answer any questions you might still have. What surprised you about these tips? What was the biggest takeaway for you? Is there anything unclear or anything you'd like to know more about? And if we were to do a follow-up webinar, what would you like it to cover? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments or live chat tab, and we'll get to as many as we can. I did see earlier in the during the presentation, we did have some questions about terminology. So we will add a few uh, definitions, terms on the screen. For example, I guess the main one, social media. What is social media? Social media is defined by an online or digital channel that allows individuals or entities to share content and ideas and facilitate discussion. Biggest platforms, again, are Facebook, Twitter. Some of the ones that we went over today are Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube can also be considered a sort of a social platform. A post. A post is content shared on a person's social media profile or account. Any picture or text or video that you share, post is a post. Newsfeed. Your newsfeed is what you see from other is a stream of content you see from other users and functions as the home page and most common way to see people's posts. It's usually the first thing you see when you first log into your account. algorithms. This one seems to be cause a lot of confusion. So an algorithm is a set of rules a social platform uses to automatically decide which posts, excuse me, that was a typo, you foresee in your feed. So with each platform, their algorithms are constantly changing, constantly improving.
Mhm.
But you might have noticed how you might see certain content at the very top of your news feed as opposed to other content that you see less of. Those follow a specific algorithm, and so finding those can be definitely confusing and hard to do, figure out how it works. But there are many companies online who do extensive studies on how these algorithms are changing. So definitely search that online and you might find a lot of answers. Finally, a meme on social media are funny pieces of text, videos, or images that go viral and let users get in on the joke by creating their own variations and sharing them. So those are just a few key terminology definitions that we've gone over. So why don't we get to the questions now? Let's see. First
Yeah.
question. Oh, sorry.
I
Go
see
ahead.
one here from Mechatronica Engineering. Mechatronica is asking, are there any recommended tools for analytics?
So I can definitely answer that real quick. Yes. If so, most of the major platforms like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram offer their own native analytics tools, which should be free. Some of those platforms you may require have to have a business account versus your own personal profile, but those should all be available. Sometimes in the settings section
Mhm.
of the channel. But if you would like a third party, there are many third party analytics tools as well. A lot of those might cost a little bit of money depending on your following, how big your organization account is. But one that IEEE USA uses and is very big is called Sprout Social, which also allows us to do social listening, seeing what other organizations and what other uh, profiles are posting about, talking about, scheduling posts. There are quite a few like that.
Mhm.
And thank you, Judah Richardson, for adding your own insight. We have been seeing a lot of discussion amongst our viewers in the during the presentation, so really appreciate that. Really, really like the feedback. So this
Yeah,
next question.
yeah, Ed Perkins asks, as an IEEE volunteer, we're always concerned with promoting something, an event, a meeting, a conference, webinars, etc. Any best practices? Um, yeah, certainly, Ed, and great to see you on here. Hope you're doing well. Um, I think it's difficult to have a very large following for particular conferences. Like if you're making a new Twitter account, for example, just for a particular conference, that may not be seen as widely as, for example, Twitter accounts for the region or for larger OUs of like organizational units of IEEE. So one certainly big thing that can happen or that can help with that, I would say, is cross promotion, asking other regions, other events, and that type of thing to help with your promoting and be able to be seen to a bigger audience. Because one of the issues with a particular meeting or a particular conference is it's only happening once or maybe a handful of times throughout the year in the case of a meeting, which can be difficult to build that momentum and keep it going over the course of a year. That's where some of the regional and larger unit platform or accounts can help with that because there's something going on all the time in each region and something going on all the time at at the national level. So they've usually got a bit more of a longer term following, and that'll help you get seen for more people. Do you have anything else to add to that one, Jonathan?
Nope, I think that summed it up perfectly. I would also like to inform everyone that you know social media is not the end all be all. It's not a one stop solution for your marketing or advertising strategy. It's only one part of the overarching marketing strategy that you want to use. So, if your audience or people that you're trying to reach out to don't use social media, then social media might not be the best option for
Mhm.
you. That doesn't mean don't have
Absolutely.
it, but again, social media is just a piece of the whole strategy.
Mm.
We do see quite a few questions, so we'll definitely try to get to it within the next 5 minutes. This next question, Syed, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. How to make your passive social media to active? So when I think of passive social media, I think simply just making posts, distributing posts on your own profile, not really responding to anything until you actually get until people respond to your posts. Um, with active social media requires you to be, more outgoing, talking, interacting with other people on social media. Um, with passive, you're kind of reliant on people who happen to notice you, but with active, you get to choose who you want to interact with. So, if you want to be more active, engage with more people on social media is first and foremost the way to create relationships, lead generation, so on.
So it looks like Phil's asking if this session is available to watch again. Yes, absolutely. As soon as this video finishes, it will be automatically archived and available on our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/IEEE USA or on our Facebook account. Anywhere where you're watching this live now, it will appear as a recorded version to watch afterwards. So absolutely.
This next one from Francis. So Francis is asking if we could make a webinar for LinkedIn and its various purposes. So Francis, we do actually have a webinar that we've done in the past or hosted in the past. Specifically, it was called LinkedIn and Standing Out. It gave a lot of great tips about how to make your own LinkedIn profile, how to make it stand out, what are some key stuff that you need to include in your profile to, get yourself out to, say, employers. Definitely would recommend looking it up on our webinars page. You can find it on our website as well as our YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn channels. Would recommend checking out our YouTube channel um, at youtube.com/IEEE USA. You'll be able to see a couple LinkedIn focused videos actually.
Mhm.
This next question is our feed on social media continuously monitored and altered using the algorithms? And I see there was a follow up question. If so, why do we do that and how? Um, Corey, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so the specifics of how the algorithms work for a given platform, be that Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, etc. The companies that produce those don't make that public. So it's at best kind of deduced from third parties, which is how you can see that things like images and videos trend higher than just straight text posts, and posts that have more likes, more comments, that type of thing um, are also tending to be seen by more people. Uh, but as Jonathan had mentioned, uh, those also continuously change. So something that might rank really highly um, this week, YouTube could decide to change their algorithm next month, and maybe something would not tend to be seen as much. So there's not really a way to see how those things are being altered or changed. But sticking to kind of the general tips that we've offered through this webinar, and in the other LinkedIn webinar um, can help to guide you for sure.
Finally, our last question. What is the best platform slash account type used by IEEE local chapters for interactive video chapter meetings? Um, so like you mentioned, a couple examples would be Zoom and WebEx. Definitely, those are some of the popular platforms to use for video conferencing, for sure. Another alternative might be Google Meets. Um, which is also free. I believe with Zoom there might be a limit on the number of minutes, the
Yeah.
duration of the meeting. So there, it might require a paid subscription to have indefinite meetings.
hmm At
But
at the moment, yeah, Zoom is a 40-minute limit. Google Meets, I know, is a 1 hour limit. After that, it would cut you off unless you have a paid subscription.
Mhm. Yeah, those are like you mentioned, those are some of the best ones that we can recommend. And if you're willing to dish out a little bit of money, there are a lot more additional features that add on to those platforms. So definitely would look into those subscription plans as well. See what works for you. If it doesn't work for you, or if it's not something you need, then maybe just look at the free version. But yeah, thank you for the questions. All right, everyone. Unfortunately, we are out of time. We really hope you enjoyed today's live stream webinar. As mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, we will be sending a short survey to all registrants after this event and would love your feedback regarding this webinar. If you would like to do us to host more webinars like this in the future, please let us know in the feedback form. Thank you all for tuning in and for your great questions. I'd also like to give a big thanks to my colleague Corey Ruth for joining me today as well.
Thanks so much, Jonathan, and thank everyone for joining us here today. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And check back daily on our social media for future live stream updates. And we hope you all have a great rest of your day.